Okay, as much precision, we did A, which is just 1,100 students at the school. You're pretty sure there's a big difference between the opinions of males and females when it comes to cafeteria food. Describe a study design that takes into account this potentially important variable. Explain the advantage of this method. So my suggestion and what I like is I would make a stratified random sample. And because I don't know uh, the if it's a high school, if it's got the four classes, or if it's an elementary or junior high or whatever, we break it up into. I'll break up the strata. Oh my gosh, break up the strata to include ages and gender. Okay. Stratified random sample, break up the strata to include ages and gender. So then what I'm doing is I consider and say I've got male and I've got female and then I've got the different ages, right? You could even ages, you could change that to be grades, something like that. But then you can look at how much, then you can compare male and female. Now, the reason why we want to do stratified, you guys remember what's important about stratified? Okay, it has less variation. And I want you to think the sunflowers. That's the one we broke up into columns and rows, and we also did just the general. And so it allowed us to look at the different growth that way, okay? So there's less variation between the rows and the columns. Anything you want me to go over on B? Okay. So what I would suggest you look at is I would look at just a simple random sample, refresh your memory on stratified, and I'd look at clustering or clusters. Okay, those are the three main types of ways that we were sampling. Okay. Okay. So you decide to conduct a survey about the quality of food served in the school cafeteria by randomly selecting students as they leave the cafeteria after lunch. Okay. So students leave the cafeteria. Describe a source of bias that may result from this method. Be sure to use the correct terminology and indicate the correction or the direction of the potential bias. Okay, so let's start with, I think, first one that popped in my head was convenient. I misspelled it. Close enough. I don't care. Why is this convenient? Yeah, yeah. So if they're already in the cafeteria, right? What's going to happen to our survey? Is it going to be up or high? Or up or lower? It's going to be higher, okay? Because they're already eating there. Now, they may say that you know, they may say that it sucks. They just have to eat there because they can't leave. Like elementary kids, can they leave? So they're going to be there going, hey, this is great stuff, right? Junior high kids, they still can't leave. They're kind of stuck there. If you live close enough. But when I went to junior high, I was 3 miles away from my junior high. I don't have time to walk home for lunch. I can't drive when I'm in 7th grade either. We got in the cafeteria, we got higher methods, okay? How about um, undercoverage? That's another kind of bias. What would be the undercoverage? How about this? Maybe the cafeteria was selling mini chimis that day, right? Nobody wants to eat those things. You don't want to eat. Okay, good point. I didn't care for the mini chimis. I felt like they were always undercooked and cold in the middle. So I would avoid. Yeah, it was like eating ice cream already. I didn't need to get more ice cream. We didn't get ice cream back in the day. So the under coverage, everything kind of mini chimney, maybe you don't have somebody there, right? So you got to think about that. And then we've got response bias. What is everybody going to say about the cafeteria food? It sucks. So that means that our data is going to be below. Under coverage, because we're not having enough people there, we're going to have it below. Okay. So those were the main types of bias that we ran into. Okay. Now all three of them could go either up or down depending on what question, what we're at. Okay. So you've got to remember which one we're examining and how it's going to respond to that. Okay. Okay. All right. So number one, we said was an observational study. We talked about the bottle feed, allergic reaction, mother's ill, adoption, and that type of thing. Nursing, we got time, contact, and frustration. Many confounding variables that should be considered. So basically, when they're asking you to do this type of a question, you need to be negative Nancy. Think of things that could go wrong. All right. Number two, cookie manufacturing. Your experimental units are the cookies on store shelf. Your factors are temperature and packaging. Then the treatments are 64 degrees Fahrenheit, your plastic and wax cardboard. So you got your two treatments. The two treatments for 75 degrees are the same packaging. And then number three was asking if we could do a double blind, and it is. Company packages the control treatment and treatment exactly the same, but with different serial numbers. And then we distribute to staff to give to subjects, and we identify the serial numbers, identify treatment and control. Okay, so part A, we talked about just using a random integer. Once they've been selected, the other hour is put down into multimedia. We also talked about using a coin flip to flip for which one they're going to be assigned to. And then once they're flipped, they're put into that hour, and then they don't leave there. Okay. B, advantages, teachers are assigned both treatments to compare equally. And then completely randomized, we could get only two teachers in one treatment, which then would leave a lot more questions and that type of thing. Then I also talked about if the teacher was actually more comfortable with standard or the multimedia. Okay. Okay. And then the final worksheet we have, we did part A. We said there's a random sample, but no random treatment. So we can make an inference on the population, but not a cause and effect. Part B, we said that there was a random sample and a random treatment. Because of the coin flip, we can make it a cause and effect both over the population. Okay. Part C, there was nothing random about that experiment or that study. So that's a nothing horrible idea. So, but it'll go in the school newspaper. And then what we do for part two, it says compared to part B, you have oil companies making a complaint about saying that's not realism. We could say that it's valid for highway only. We could also just run a different experiment where we break up the miles both in city and in the highway to compare the outcomes and make sure everything works out cordial. Okay? Okay, we'll see you guys Tuesday. No, today's Wednesday. Today's Tuesday. We'll see you Wednesday, Thursday.